have a little bit of a confession to make tonight. And that is lately when I've been feeling a little stressed out. Thanks, I think I'm okay. When I've been feeling just a teensy tiny bit stressed out, I've been making mental lists of people that I think could benefit from a little haunting. You did not hear me wrong. I did say haunting, and that is because it is 2025, y'all. I am not going to name any names, but those lists are long up here. And if it were any other time of year, I might have some qualms about my tendency to do this. I do still have some qualms, actually, because obviously wishing that people be haunted is not in alignment with my value system. But it's not any other time of year. It's December, and that means 'tis the season. Haunting is all the rage. We have one particular ghost story to thank for that, because Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol is one of the foundational texts of the American holiday season, despite the fact that it was written in England. Over the last 182 years, this novel has taught an entire culture that the only thing it takes to cure a person of their deep-seated nastiness are a few hours and a small handful of committed spirits. You probably know the bare bones of the story already. Over the course of about 150 pages or 100 minutes of movie time, if you prefer your Muppets in the mix, Ebenezer Scrooge, our absolute menace of a protagonist, is visited by 4 ghosts on Christmas Eve and is transformed from a miserly crank with a side hustle in ruining people's holidays into a loving and generous man. A miracle, right? A miracle. And a seemingly simple equation, too. Bad guy plus ghosts equals good guy. Right? Seems simple enough. Except it's not really that simple. And I know because 2 years ago, I had the chance to revisit the story with my middle schooler. Every December, my daughter and I devote the month to something we call Advent School, which is basically math meets hot chocolate. Thank you, Rue. She's right there. During this month, the majority of our lessons are holiday themed, including reading. For our Advent School read in 2023, we decided to tackle A Christmas Carol together in its original form. I consider myself a huge fan of this book, and I own multiple copies of it, but I hadn't actually sat down to read the thing in a couple of decades, and wow, you guys. Returning to it after so much time away, especially alongside my kid, was a totally different reading experience of it than I had ever had. We were about 50 pages in when my daughter looked at me and said the same thing I was thinking, which was, I have a question. Is he supposed to be crying this much? He never cries this much in the movies. And it is true. In movie versions of A Christmas Carol, Scrooge is typically prayed with very little emotion until, afraid of dying alone in the last act, he suddenly softens and buys what is presumably the world's biggest turkey as a gesture of goodwill. But in the novel, he cries basically nonstop. He weeps and he sobs and he shakes, and when he's not crying, he's laughing in that sort of broken, hysterical kind of way that makes you want to hand him a glass of water and a weighted blanket. Poor Scrooge. We've all been there, right? When confronted with the trauma of his past, the shortcomings of his culture, and the possible consequences of his personal actions, he reacts physically, the way that we know traumatized people do. His transformation in this story is not clean or quick. It's messy. It's deeply emotional. Over the course of the story, Scrooge doesn't just change his mind about Christmas, he feels his way back into the world. The haunting of Ebenezer Scrooge is a healing. He's lovingly pursued by the truth of his own life. And in the end, he cannot deny it anymore. He has suffered. He has caused other people to suffer. But that's not the whole story. Other things are possible for him. In Dickens' tale, the ghosts aren't there to punish him or drag him into accountability like some sort of supernatural HR department. They're there to accompany him as he re-inhabits his own story. All of it. The whole thing. The parts he needs to grieve, the parts that he's buried or denied in order to keep going. They act as witnesses to his grief, his shame, his fear, his hope that at long last, things might be made right. The more I read of this story for the first time in a long time, the more I started to see myself in this story and every single person that I know. Because sometimes we're Scrooge, right? We're numb and disconnected and needing help to reorient ourselves around what truly matters. And sometimes, for the people that we love, we're the presence who says, face what you need to face. Feel what you need to feel. I'm here for you. And sometimes, maybe more often than we'd like to admit, we're both. We hold space for someone else's trembling and then fall apart ourselves, hoping someone will hold space for our own. If we're lucky, they do. When we were doing our deep dive into A Christmas Carol in 2023, I happened to come across the fact that the word haunt is thought by some linguists to come from the Old Norse root that means to bring home. I don't know whether Dickens knew this or not. I kind of assume that he did not. But of course, that is exactly what happens to Ebenezer Scrooge. He is brought home to himself and his community. This is the kind of experience I want for the people I keep making lists of. An encounter that opens their eyes and softens their edges just a little bit, or a lot, depending on who the person is. Again, no names. The kind that makes them cry a little or a lot and laugh until it hurts, until it doesn't hurt so much anymore, and they can find their way back to tenderness and belonging and the parts of themselves that remember how to love and be loved. It's what I want for myself too. What the ghost did for Scrooge, we can do for each other. Arrive at the doorsteps of each other's hardened, anxious hearts and knock gently but persistently until the door opens. If I catch myself making those mental lists again, and I will, there's still a whole month left of this year, maybe I won't feel quite so weird about it. I hope that I remember that to wish someone a haunting is to hope that something will reach them and shake them and remind them that change is still possible. If it is the season of haunting, then may we all be visited this year. May we be haunted back home. My friends, as we move into this month ahead, this holiday season for so many of us, may we be blessed with the kind of visitations that soften us. May we receive and offer the kind of tender, steady company that calls us back to love at every moment. And may we be met by mercy exactly where we are. Amen, and blessed be.